My fiancé of 12 years betrayed me with my younger sister. 1 week before my wedding, I found out she was pregnant with his child. But 2 years later, my sister cheated on him with her married boss for 4 years, and now he's begging me to forgive him. I'm 29 years old. I work as a freelance graphic designer from home, and it's been 2 years since my life exploded in the most horrible way you can imagine. 2 years since my fiancé and my younger sister basically ripped my heart out of my chest and stomped on it in front of me. And now, after all that time without speaking to me, Daniel showed up at my door a few days ago asking me to forgive him, to give him another chance. The truth is, I laughed in his face. And I know that probably sounds cruel, but when you hear what happened, you're going to understand why I don't feel even a shred of guilt about it. I guess I should start from the beginning. Daniel and I started dating when I was like 17. He was 18. We were those high school sweethearts that everyone thought were going to last forever. And we did last. I mean, we were together for 12 years before we got engaged. 12 years. Can you believe it? My entire adult life I spent with him. We moved in together when we finished college. We adopted a cat named Miso. We had plans to buy a house. We wanted 2 kids. You know, the whole package. My family adored him, especially my sister Grace, who was 6 years younger than me. Grace was always the baby of the family, the spoiled one. And I never had a problem with that because I loved her so much. She and Daniel got along really well, which I thought was great, because it meant my future husband and my sister had a good relationship. How stupid I was, right? When Daniel finally proposed to me, I was 29 and he was 30. We'd been together for like 12 years, and honestly, I was already wondering if it was ever going to happen. But it did. He proposed to me on the beach during a vacation in Cancun, with a beautiful ring that I know cost him like 3 months' salary, and I obviously said yes because I loved him with all my heart. We started planning the wedding right away. We wanted something not too big but nice, like 80 guests, in a beautiful garden we found on the outskirts of the city. We set the date for the following year. It gave us enough time to organize everything without stressing ourselves out too much. Grace was super excited. She helped me pick out my dress. We went together to see venues. She was my maid of honor. I mean, everything was perfect. But like 6 months after the engagement, I started noticing that Daniel was acting weird. I can't explain it exactly, just that he was different. He was coming home late from work more often. His phone would ring at strange hours, and he'd put it face down when we were together. He'd cancel plans on me last minute saying he had a lot of work. I asked him several times if everything was okay, and he'd tell me, yes, that he was just stressed about a big project at his office, that he was an architect and they had a really demanding client. I believed him because, why wouldn't I believe him? We'd been together for over a decade. We were going to get married in a few months. I had no reason to distrust him. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. All the signs were there. But you never think something like that is going to happen to you until it does. Grace was acting weird too, now that I think about it. She was 23 at the time. She worked as an administrative assistant at a marketing company, and suddenly, she started coming to my house less, making excuses not to hang out. I thought maybe she'd met someone and was in that new relationship phase where you want to spend all your time with the other person. But when I asked her, she'd tell me no, that she was single. Once I saw her at the mall when she was supposed to be working, but when I texted her asking what she was doing there, she told me she'd had the day off. Little things like that in the moment didn't seem important, but now, obviously, make all the sense in the world. 1 week before the wedding, exactly 1 week, Daniel came home at like 10 at night. I was going over the final details with the event. Coordinator on the phone, super focused on confirming that the flowers were the right ones and that the DJ had all the songs we'd requested. Daniel came in and just stood there in the living room, looking at me. And when I hung up the phone, I realized he was crying. I'd never seen him cry like that, not even when his grandfather died. I got up from the couch and asked him what was wrong. If someone had died, if he was sick, because honestly, I couldn't think of what else could be so terrible as to put him in that state. He sat down on the couch, covered his face with his hands, and said, "I need to tell you something, and you're going to hate me. But I can't keep lying." My blood ran cold, literally. My heart started racing, and I felt like the floor was moving under me. I told him to tell me what was going on, that he was scaring me, and he took a deep breath and dropped the bomb. He told me he'd been having an affair for the past year. And a whole year. You know what I mean? It wasn't a one-night mistake. It wasn't something that happened once and that's it. A year of lies, of cheating, of looking me in the eyes every day, pretending everything was fine while he was sleeping with someone else? I asked him who it was, because at that moment my brain was trying to process the information and I needed to know who he'd cheated on me with. I was thinking maybe it was a coworker, or someone he met at the gym. I don't know. Anyone except the person, he told me. It was Grace. My sister. My younger sister. The one who was going to be my maid of honor. The one who helped me pick out my wedding dress. Daniel looked at me with red eyes and told me it had been with Grace. That they'd been seeing each other in secret for a year, and that there was something else he had to tell me. At that moment, I was already shaking. I felt like I was going to throw up, but he continued. He told me that Grace was pregnant, that the baby was his, and that's why he was confessing everything, because they couldn't keep hiding it anymore. That they had tried to end things several times, but they couldn't, that they had fallen in love, and that he couldn't marry me knowing all this. I don't remember exactly what happened next. I think I just sat there in shock for several minutes, trying to process that my fiancé, the man I'd spent 12 years of my life with, had been cheating on me with my own sister for a whole year. That my sister, who was supposed to love me, had been sleeping with my boyfriend all that time, that she was going to have a child with him. That everything had been a lie. The wedding we had in 1 week, all the plans we'd made, everything was garbage. Eventually, I found my voice and told him to get out of my house, that I never wanted to see him again, that the wedding was obviously canceled and he could go to hell along with my sister. He tried to touch me, to tell me he was sorry, that he never meant to hurt me, and I yelled at him not to touch me, to leave, before I called the police. That night, I called my parents and told them everything. I thought they were going to support me, that they were going to be as angry as I was, that they were going to confront Grace and tell her that what she'd done was unforgivable. But no. My mom started crying and told me that yes, they already knew. That Grace had told them a few weeks ago because she was terrified of my reaction. That they understood I was hurt, but that Grace was also suffering. That she was pregnant and scared. That Daniel and she really loved each other and that I had to try to understand them. My dad said it was a terrible situation. But that at the end of the day, Grace was my sister, and that family had to stick together. That with time I was going to get over it and that we were all going to be able to move forward. I told them that if they supported Grace in this, if they attended any event where she was with Daniel, if they kept treating her like she hadn't done anything wrong, then they shouldn't consider me their daughter ever again. My mom begged me not to say that I couldn't force them to choose between their daughters. But I'd already made my decision. I hung up on them and blocked them everywhere. The next few days were hell. I had to cancel the wedding, return all the deposits I could. We lost like half the money because it was too late to cancel everything. Return the ring to Daniel. Tell all our friends and family what had happened. Some supported me, others told me I was overreacting. That these things happen, and that I should try to forgive Grace, because she was my sister. I lost several friendships in that process because they decided that what I was doing was very dramatic and that I was being too hard on Grace. But the truth is, I didn't care. I knew that what they had done was unforgivable, and I wasn't going to pretend everything was fine so that others would feel comfortable. Like 3 months later, I found out through a mutual friend that Daniel and Grace were getting married. A small wedding. Nothing like the one we had planned, but a wedding nonetheless. And yes, my parents attended. My own mother and my own father went to my sister's wedding with my ex-fiancé, the man I was going to marry. When I found out, I sent them one last message telling them that was their decision and that I respected that they chose Grace, but not to contact me ever again, because to me, they no longer existed. My mom responded with a really long message saying that I was breaking her heart. How could I be so cold? That Grace was my sister, and that her baby was going to be my nephew, and that I was going to regret missing all of that. I blocked her number without responding. 2 whole years passed, without knowing anything about them. 2 years where I focused on healing, on building a new life without Daniel, without Grace, without my parents. It was hard, I'm not going to lie. There were nights where I cried, wondering what I'd done wrong. Why I wasn't enough for Daniel. Why my own sister betrayed me that way. I went to therapy, I worked on myself. Eventually, I started dating other people, though nothing serious because I still didn't trust people much. But I was better. I had accepted what happened and had moved on with my life. I didn't think about them every day anymore. It didn't hurt as much anymore. I was at peace, or something close to peace. Like 2 weeks ago, on a Tuesday afternoon, Someone knocked on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I looked through the peephole before opening, and I almost had a heart attack when I saw who it was. Daniel, standing there at my door after 2 years of not seeing him, looking horrible, to be honest, like he hadn't slept in weeks. He had a beard because he never shaved properly. He'd lost weight. He looked gaunt. For a second, I considered not opening the door, but curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. I asked him what he wanted, and he asked if we could talk. I told him we had nothing to talk about, but he insisted. Said he needed to talk to me about something important, that it would only take a few minutes. I sighed and let him in. Mostly because my neighbors are nosy and I didn't want them to see us at the door. Daniel came in and stood in the middle of my living room, looking super uncomfortable, and I told him to say what he had to say and leave. He started with how he'd been thinking about me a lot, that he never stopped loving me, that he made the worst mistake of his life when he cheated on me with Grace. And I was standing there thinking, seriously, did he come all the way here to tell me this? After 2 years? I asked him if there was a specific reason he was showing up now and not a year ago, or 6 months ago, or at any other time during the past 2 years. And that's when he dropped the truth about why he was really there. He told me that Grace had cheated on him, that she'd been having an affair with her boss for 4 years. 4 years. That the affair started before Daniel and Grace even got together, meaning she was already cheating on her relationship with me when she started her thing with Daniel. That the son she had, the son who was supposedly Daniel's, wasn't actually his. That they'd done a paternity test a few months ago because the kid didn't look anything like Daniel, and it turned out he indeed wasn't his biological son. That Grace had been playing both of them, Daniel and her boss, all these years, that the boss was married, had his own kids, and was now in the process of divorce because his wife found out about everything. Daniel told me all this with tears in his eyes, expecting me to feel sorry for him, I guess. He told me that now he understood how I'd felt when he betrayed me. That now he knew what it was like to have the person you love lie to your face every day. That Grace destroyed his life just like he destroyed mine. And then he apologized to me. Told me he regretted everything, that he should never have left me. That I was the love of his life, and that if he could turn back time, he'd do everything differently. That he missed me, that he wanted me to give him another chance, that we could start over now that we both knew what it felt like to be betrayed. I stood there listening to him and literally couldn't believe what I was hearing. This man, who broke my heart, who cheated on me with my own sister for a year, who let my parents abandon me for his relationship with Grace, who married her and had what he thought was his son, was standing in my living room asking me to forgive him because it turned out he was also betrayed. And you know what I did? I laughed. I laughed in his face. A genuine laugh because the situation was so absurd I couldn't do anything else. I told him, "Did you really come all the way here thinking I was going to forgive you just because Grace also cheated on you? Did you think I was going to receive you with open arms because now you also know what it's like to be the betrayed one?" I told him he deserved it. That every tear he'd shed over Grace, every sleepless night he spent wondering why he wasn't enough for her, every moment of pain he experienced when he discovered the truth, he completely deserved it. That I had gone through exactly the same thing 2 years ago because of him, and that I was glad, genuinely glad, that now he knew how it felt. That the fact that he was betrayed didn't erase what he did to me. That I wasn't his plan B, his safety net for when things didn't work out with my sister. I told him to get out of my house and not come back, that I'd spent the last 2 years rebuilding myself and that I wasn't going to destroy that peace for him. Daniel started begging me, literally on his knees, begging me to give him another chance. He was saying he'd changed, that he was different now, that he loved me more than anything in the world. But I was already fed up. I opened the door and told him to leave or I was going to call the police. He finally left. But before leaving, he told me he wasn't going to give up, that he was going to prove he deserved my forgiveness. I closed the door in his face and started shaking, not from sadness but from rage, because how dare he come to my house after everything he did, expecting me to receive him like nothing happened. I thought that would be it. But no. 2 days later, Daniel's mom called me, who was always super nice to me when we were together. She begged me to talk to her son. That Daniel was destroyed. That he'd been in therapy but nothing helped. That I was the only one who could save him. I told her I was very sorry, but that wasn't my problem or my responsibility. She started crying on the phone, telling me she was worried about Daniel's mental health, that he wasn't eating well, that he barely slept, that she was afraid he might do something drastic if I didn't give him another chance. And look, I understand he's her son and she loves him, but I told her as kindly as I could that Daniel was an adult who made his own decisions and now had to live with the consequences. That I didn't owe him anything and that I needed her to respect my decision not to want contact with him. His mom didn't accept that as an answer and kept calling me for several days. Every call was the same, begging me to forgive her son, that everyone makes mistakes, that true love forgives everything. Eventually, I blocked her because I couldn't keep having those conversations. But then, like a week ago, she showed up at my house. She knocked on my door on a Sunday morning, and when I opened it, there she was, with her eyes swollen from crying so much. She begged me to give her a few minutes, that she just wanted me to listen to what she had to say. I let her in because, honestly, I felt sorry for her. She looked so desperate, so broken, and I know none of this is her fault. We sat in my living room, and she started telling me how Daniel had been since Grace betrayed him, that he didn't leave his apartment except to go to work, that he'd lost contact with all his friends, that she was really scared he might hurt himself. She showed me messages Daniel had sent her saying his life had no meaning without me, that he'd ruined the only good thing he had, that he didn't know how to move forward. She asked me, with tears falling down her face, if I could find it in my heart to forgive her son, not necessarily get back together with him, but at least talk to him, give him some peace. I told her, and I was as gentle as possible because I really understood her pain, that her adult son made adult decisions that had adult consequences, that he decided to cheat on me for a year with my sister, that he decided to marry her knowing the damage he'd caused me, that I went through exactly the same pain he's going through now, and no one came to beg him to forgive me or give me another chance, that I had to heal alone, rebuild myself alone, and that it would have to do the same, that I wished him the best, genuinely, but that I couldn't be part of his healing process because it had taken me too long to heal from what he did to me. Daniel's mom started crying harder and told me she understood, that she didn't blame me, but that as a mother she just wanted to see her son okay. I gave her a hug because I could see she was suffering. I told her that Daniel was going to be okay eventually, that he just needed time and space to process everything, but that couldn't come from me. She left after that, and I haven't heard from her again. Yesterday, Daniel sent me a message. The last one I'm going to read from him because I blocked him afterwards too. It said he understood I wasn't going to forgive him, that he accepted my decision, that he was going to leave me alone from now on, that he just wanted me to know he was working on himself, going to therapy, trying to be a better person, that he hoped someday, even if it was in many years, I could not hate him so much, that he thanked me for the good years we had together and that he was sorry for ruining everything. I didn't respond. I just blocked him and deleted the message. Through my mutual friend, I found out a few days ago how the whole situation with Grace and her boss ended. Turns out the boss decided not to divorce his wife in the end. I guess it wasn't convenient for him financially, or what do I know. He offered Grace a large amount of money, like a settlement with a confidentiality agreement, so she wouldn't talk publicly about their affair or try to claim child support for the son. Grace accepted the money but lost her job, obviously, because she can't keep working at the same company after sleeping with her married boss for 4 years. Grace and Daniel are in the process of divorce now, though they're going to share custody of the boy because Daniel raised him as his own during the first years and doesn't want to abandon him even though he's not biologically his son, which I guess is decent of him. I don't know how my parents feel about all this. I haven't talked to them in 2 years and I don't plan to. From what I know, Grace still lives near them and they still support her, which is their decision and doesn't affect me because they're not part of my life anymore. Sometimes I wonder if they regret choosing her side when everything happened. If now that they know she's also capable of betraying someone so horribly, they feel differently about what happened. But honestly, I don't care enough to find out. Life goes on, I guess. I'm better now than I was 2 years ago. That's for sure. I have my work that I like. I have some good friends who supported me through all this. I adopted another cat because Miso stayed with Daniel when we broke up and I missed him. A few months ago, I started dating someone. Nothing serious yet, but it's nice to have company. I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust someone completely again, to be honest, but I'm trying. Do I regret not forgiving Daniel? No, not at all. Some people don't deserve your forgiveness, and some betrayals are too big to get over. He made his bed and now he has to lie in it, just like I had to do when he betrayed me. The difference is I didn't have anyone begging Daniel to forgive me. I had to heal completely alone while he married my sister and started a family with her. That he now feels the same way I felt doesn't make me feel better or worse. It's just karma doing its job. I know there are probably people who think I'm cold or cruel for rejecting Daniel when he came to ask for forgiveness, that I should be the bigger person and forgive because that's what good people do. But the truth is that forgiving someone who destroyed you doesn't make you a good person. It just makes you vulnerable to being destroyed again. And I'm not going to give anyone that opportunity ever again.